Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we're going to be talking about Novik and the best heroes and charms you should be preparing for this Ravaged Realm, because on the VN server they have gone through a complete rotation of all the squads and the best performing teams have kind of been almost finalized. Of course there's potential for more testing to happen when they come out on the global server, but I think this gives us like basically an 80 or 90% idea of which heroes are going to be used and also which charms you should be getting for them, and this is important of course. So the first thing I want to mention is about the squads. This is going to be the breakdown of where the different celestial hypogeans can be used. So in the Immortal squad, Cele is really the key hero which will be used. In the Dauntless squad, Athalia. Sylvan squad will be the twins and Rainier, and Aurora squad will be Fresto and Harak and Cryonaya if you have her built. The new collab heroes, the dimensional heroes, will also be usable in Ravaged Realm. And we know that in the Dauntless squad, we're going to be having Natsu, and in the Sylvan squad, we're going to be having Lucy. And now, Lucy, from her skill trailer breakdown, it didn't look like she's a great damage dealer. So most likely for boss content, I can't imagine her being great. But Natsu, on the other hand, seemed to have high damage multipliers. And so I could imagine him even being potentially usable in the Dauntless squad. So that's one thing to keep in mind when we talk about the teams that are currently the top performing team options. So for the Graveborn, very interestingly, even if you don't have Cele, you're going to be able to compete and get pretty high scores, 116 billion damage, when the overall like top of today is 121 billion damage with Cele. That is not that big of a difference. So this is really good news for people who may not have Cele. As long as you build up Shamira, you're going to do pretty well. However, the overall top team of today, I'm going to show you a screenshot of that. It is using Cele and it is using Shamira. And now, in terms of the charms that you should prioritize on these heroes, we know that Shamira is doing the best with Butcher charms. Those are the recommended charm choice. If you're going to be running Bonnie in a comp, sorcery charms should be fine. Even in, for example, Dream Realm, they were the good option. Nero, honestly, I don't think it really matters that much. Ludovic, Insight charms. If you're running Thorin, I mean, yeah, Blast Charms technically will slightly increase his damage, but his damage is so low it hardly makes a difference. If you're running CC, Gale Charms definitely are the way to go. If you're running Hodgkin, Arcane Charms do seem the way to go. And interestingly, Velka, I thought that Arcane Charms would be the best for her to give her skill power to increase the attack speed buff to her allies. However, it looks like Gale Charms are going to be better to increase her own personal damage. However, I think Arcane would be fine as well. So yeah, and if you're running Carolina, I would say Arcane Charms, and if you're running Talene, I would say Blast Charms, probably the way to go for this boss. Those are the top heroes really that are going to be used in these teams. So let's move over to the Dauntless squad, which is going to be after Immortal squad. Now, Dauntless, interestingly, like you'll look at my viewer's account and think that, well, this probably he didn't get a very competitive score. But he was actually rank 5 in his whole district with this team that got like 101, almost 102 billion damage. Basically, this team that you see right here. So the good news is that even if you don't have Athalia, it does seem like you will still get a pretty good score. However, Athalia is going to be in the top performing team, and I'm going to show you a screenshot. However, this is not necessarily the top team because enough testing has not been done. For example, using Seth and Athalia on the same team, or even Natsu, of course, when he comes out. But I'm thinking basically probably the idea is going to be a physical team 1 with like Shakir, Kruger, Athalia, Seth, and maybe then like Mikola. And then for team 2, the optimal team probably Smokey, Odie, Elsa, because we know that a magical team will work on team number 2. And so Smokey, Odie, Elsa can work. But for the first team is probably going to want to be a physical team with like Athalia, Kruger, Shakir, Mikola. But the other thing we know right now is that you can go for the magical team on team 1 and a physical team 2 with Kruger, Seth, and Reese if you have Reese. However, for the players who don't have Reese, you basically have to go for the magical team on the team number 2, like you see over here, and then the physical team on the team number 1. Citra is just kind of a filler. Any hero could go here. Probably Soren could fit, probably Athalia could fit, and probably Athalia would be the best, or like Natsu or something like that. Okay, so those are basically the heroes. Now, as for the charms, if you're going to run Elsa, Overloaded charms. If you're going to run Odie, Gale charms. If you're going to run Mikola, and you should, Arcane charms. Smokey, Recovering or Sorcery charms. Shakira, Mystic charms. Kruger, Mystic charms. Seth seems to be Mystic charms. However, we don't know. We need more testing. Arcane, Ruthless do have potential. If you're running Reese and you have Reese, Butcher charms. But if you're not running Reese, if you're running Citrana, probably Butcher charms on her would be optimal. But I think probably rather than Citrana, either running Soren Athalia, Natsu, some other hero, whichever one you have, would probably be better. Maybe even Brutus would fit, honestly. In like a physical comp, it kind of makes more sense than Citrani here. So that is basically the idea, basically behind these teams for Dauntless Squad, and the charm priority you should prioritize, and those are the ones I'm basically shooting for right now. But keep in mind, Athalia, if you're running her, probably the overloaded charms most likely will be the best, because overloaded always does really well in Ravaged Realm. And if you're running Natsu, we don't even know what charm set he has. Okay, moving on. Or if you're running Soren, it could be the Mystic Charms, it could be the Arcane Charms, basically skill power and like offensive stat. Probably, and yeah, so, okay, moving on to Sylvan Squad. So Sylvan Squad, again, my viewer got very competitive scores, 107 billion damage, so definitely Faramore is going to be a top hero to be running. The only difference is Lucy is going to be added into the lineup, but honestly speaking, I don't think Lucy is going to be great. I think that most likely these are the heroes which are going to be top, and the people who have the most invested, like Lenya, Lily May, and Faramore, probably going to get the highest scores. So, of course, Twins, Sorcery Charms, Rainier can be Mystic Charms, but it's really about Lenya, Butcher Charms, and Faramore, Arcane Charms. They deal a lot of damage, and those are the optimal charm sets for them, so definitely try to get these done if you have these heroes built to Mythic Plus or above. But Mythic Plus kind of is needed for both of them in order to get good damage output. And then for the team number 2, it is the Florabelle with the Gale Charms, which, yeah, you should try to prioritize that. She's really good for Novik because she has summons as well to help break the Protector Sigil quicker. And then Lily May also run the Gale Charms here, although generally Sorcery Charms have been the best for Lily May. I don't know, maybe my viewer doesn't have Sorcery Charms, but maybe Gale is doing better. I'm not sure. But basically any offensive set, whether it be Titanic Charms, Gale Charms, Sorcery Charms for Lily May, all should be fine. And then we'll have to test which one is the best. But those are basically it. And so while this is pretty much locked in, set in stone, that these are going to be like the 2 comps, and most people have all these heroes, but if you don't, then Leica could fit in here for one of the other heroes if you don't have them. But most likely, like we said, Lucy probably will not be great. But yeah, and like Harmonic Spell and Frostfall are both kind of doing the same, which is strange. Anyway, that is basically the idea behind the Sylvan Squad. Now let's move on to the final one, which is Aurora Squad. So Aurora Squad, this is going to depend on which heroes you have. Now, if you have Harak, of course, you're going to want to run a Harak team, and this is going to be the biggest difference. So for example, if you're competing for the top 20 in your district, and your district has been around for quite some time, like you've been playing for like almost a year, the difference between top 20 of Ravaged Realm and top 50 will most likely be Harak. The players with Harak, they're going to get like a 10 billion or even higher score boost compared to the players who do not have any Harak built. So that is going to be the main game-changing factor. Harak is going to make the difference. But if you have Cryanaya or not, it will not make a big difference. As of right now, I'm going to show you some teams. There's only like a 3 billion damage difference between running Cryanaya versus Harak. Maybe after testing, it could be higher than that. But it seems like even just having Harak and Fresto, both the Supreme Plus, that is enough. You're going to get top scores. Like, look at my viewer here. He just has Harak, Fresto, he's a light spender, and look at the damage that he's getting. 126 billion damage is very high. If we take a look at like his rankings, so Aurora Squad would have been yesterday, right? So yesterday he was ranked 10 in his district, and this is against Paragon 4 players. Almost all Paragon 4 players, so he's really competing so well just by having this Harak and Fresto built, not even having Cryanaya, and just having them as Supreme Plus. So it is promising and good news for most players out there if you have these heroes built. But Harak is going to be the best. So now, as for Charms, Harak, so Balance he was actually running here, but I would think generally in Ravaged Realm, Butcher Charms do better on Harak. I don't know if enough testing was done. We'll have to see about that, but looks like Balance is doing fine, but Butcher may be better, so keep that in mind. For Merrily, Overlord Charms always, and she's seeing use here. Sonya, Arcane Charms always. Fresto, just keep running the charms you have for Dream Run, which are Sorcery Charms. And then he's running Faye here, but honestly, Faye is not really needed, most likely. And look, he's running it even at Legendary, so even if she is needed, she'll work at Legendary. It might be that Lucius, any other basically hero which will fit in here, might be a better choice than Faye. Basically, you just want anything to give any sort of buffing to your team, and I think Faye does give an attack buff, and that's probably the reason why she's being used in this comp. But even at Legendary, she's working, which is interesting. And then the team 2 is going to be Hugin in front of Sinbad, giving the true damage charms onto Sinbad, and Corrin is another damage dealer. And this is the important thing you might not have noticed. And Corrin hardly deals any damage, but it does seem like Insight is the best for him. Those do seem to be getting the highest score in this team lineup. Blast Charms ideal for Hugin because like Sinbad's going to leave that tile, so it's better to have Blast Charms on Hugin and then Gale Charms onto Sinbad. But maybe, I don't know, maybe with more testing, Corrin different charms can work, but probably the Corrin charms don't really matter that much when all the damage is coming from Sinbad and the Hugin charms onto the Sinbad. So, yeah, don't like Corrin Insight Charms or just get him any offensive charm set. Now, the thing is, if you don't have Harak, then you're going to have to probably use Vala on team number 1, or it could even be Cassidy. Now, from the testing which was on the VN server, there wasn't any mention of Cassidy doing well. However, generally Cassidy always does pretty well for Ravaged Realm. She like buffs up your entire team with those empowered attacks to deal bonus damage. So we will have to see more testing when she comes out on global. But if you're going to prepare Vala, try to give her the Reaper charms or any charms basically giving her attack. And then for if you're gonna try to prepare Cassidy, try to give her Mystic or Acute Charms. Those were the best in the previous season. But that is basically it. So now we basically recap the top used heroes for this Ravaged Realm with some speculations on Natsu and Lucy, and also Thalia, for example. If you have her, Taline, if you have her, those will be charm priorities as well. But hopefully this video was helpful. Let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comment section down below. Or do you have any other ideas for team comms that will do even better in Ravaged Realm? But definitely, these teams which I've shown you, these have proven to be doing well. Even in his pretty competitive district, he is in top 20 for most of the days. I believe the only day he was not top 20 was the Sylvan squad. Yeah, because his Lenya is not plus 15, his Lily May is not plus 15. They're all plus 10 basically, and that's probably the difference. Otherwise, everyone has like Rainier Twins and all of these heroes built. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. That's going to be it for this one. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please smash that subscribe button. Also, feel free to join my AFK Journey Discord server. There's a link to that in the description of this video. But thank you for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now.